Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to do some reloading. We're going to run a few rounds of 5.56. I'm just going to give you a basic explanation and help you understand on what it takes to reload or how to get started on reloading. I'm using the RCBS Rock Chucker kit. Had it for years and years. I couldn't tell you how many rounds of ammunition I've loaded on this thing, and it's still working great. I have no complaints whatsoever on the RCBS. I do have to say that the reloading I'm doing today is focused more on quantity instead of accuracy. Obviously, there are a lot of steps that you can add or emphasize in reloading to go for the ultimate accuracy. I can make a video on that later if you're interested. It is a lot more time consuming, but obviously if you're reloading for accuracy, it's what you have to do. But like I said, today I'm going for just showing you the basics on what it takes to load some 5.56 that I've got today. I'm going to be loading 5 rounds. I have pre-sorted the brass to weed out any of the crimp primers. If you don't know, crimp primers is a military thing. They actually is a step in the process of making the ammunition at the manufacturer. They actually crimp in those primers so that they can't pop out under situations where they're loaded into a hot chamber like a belt-fed machine gun. They don't want the primers to come out the back. So yeah, the military stuff is crimped in, but like I said, I have went through my brass, picked out 5 that I don't have to deal with that. I can and will make a video later to show you a quick and easy way to get rid of that crimp. If you load a lot of 5.56, you're going to come across it, I guarantee it. Also, the brass that I have is range pickup. We've got a place pretty close to here. They do a lot of shooting. Every once in a while I run by, pick up some brass. Yeah, so it's a mixed bag of different manufacturers for the brass. We're using tack, Ramshot tack powder. This is my favorite powder for loading 5.56. It's very consistent in the metering. Love that powder. You know, sometimes it's a little hard to find nowadays. Reloading components are hit or miss, and obviously the price is higher than it used to be. I have to say that the only reason that I'm still reloading, you might say, is because I have a lot of the components. If I had to buy everything from scratch to load for quantity, I'd probably just go ahead and buy the ammunition, to be honest. The only reason that I could see starting from scratch to reload would be going after the accuracy, the utmost in accuracy, and that's the only way you can achieve that is to load your own. Yeah, so, but like I said, I already have the brass, I already have the primers, and we're halfway there, right? So only thing I had to buy was the powder and the bullets. So, like I said, tack powder, using the Hornady 68 grain Botel Hollow Point match bullets. Those are great bullets. Works great for, you know, everyday training, and would make a heck of a defensive load as well. So highly recommend those Hornady bullets. So let's get started. I've got the 5 rounds in my tray here. This tray, you can see there's a lot of empty spaces, but it will actually hold 80 cases, 80 rounds. I use the Hornady one-shot spray lubricant. Really like this stuff, makes it a whole lot easier. So I'm going to give it a quick shot, make sure that I get them all around and on top, get down in that neck. I use Lee dies. I've had these dies forever, and they've loaded I don't know how many thousands of rounds, but obviously there's more expensive dies out there on the market, and if you can do that, go ahead. But like I said, these work great for me. I've used them a bunch, so hey, shout out to Lee. Give it a quick turn with the wrench, get it snug down there, and let's start sizing and depriming. That's what this first step is. Knocking those primers out, no problem. Where we've got the lubrication on there, makes everything nice and smooth, makes it a lot easier. And I have to say, be sure to lubricate your cases before you run it in through any kind of a sizing die, because they will get stuck and it is a nightmare to get them out. Last one. There we go. So like I said, I did pre-sort my brass, so I know that all the primers are just simple standard primers, not crimped in. I did not measure them. We have to measure the brass after the sizing step to make sure that they're within spec. I believe it is 1.76 inches is the maximum for the brass. So we're going to measure ours and make sure that we're below that. Good, 1.74. Yeah. And no, this one is a little too long. I'm going to set it to the side. Good. And we're good. So now we're down to 4. I would be trimming that brass to get it to the right size, but for time today, I'm not going to show you the trimming. We can do a video on that later. It's worth its own video, to be honest. But so we're going to load up these 4. Now, next step is priming. So we have the primers removed, and we are ready to put new primers in. Now this is the RCBS tool. It did come with the kit. We're going to make sure that our primer hole is clear. Put it in our tool. Make sure that it is pointed away from you, and press the primer in. Now, looking at this brass, the primer pocket, you can see that sometimes it is not. It's going to be a little harder to get in, if you know what I'm saying. It'll be a little sharp on that edge. So what I do is I take a chamfer tool, give it a few turns to get rid of that edge, to make that primer go in there a lot smoother. So that one's ready to go. And you notice whenever I'm doing this, I am pointing it away from my face. Very important. Okay, so there's our 4 rounds with the primer seated. So I'm going to go ahead and put these back in my tray. I'm going to trade out my sizer die for a bullet seating die. Trying to go really as fast as I can, because I know that everyone's attention span is not very long. I get it. No reason to make the video longer than I have to, right? Okay, so we've got our bullet cedar die in there. I have my powder in my powder measure drop. I'm going to check it one more time. I'm loading, I believe it's 24.2 grains of the tack powder. Yeah, we're good. So be sure to follow all your instructions that come with your equipment, like your powder measure here, your powder scales. Make sure those are zeroed out really well before you do any type of weighing. A very important step, like I said, follow the directions. Also with your powder measure drop, follow your instructions on how to get that set up properly. It's very easy once you get the hang of it. It goes pretty quick. Most of the time, if I'm just loading 5.56 and I'm loading the same bullet weight, same powder, everything's the same, nothing changes here. I just make sure that I double check it before I start a new round of reloading, you know. That's what I'm doing now. Okay, so we've got this set. We know we're good. Now we're going to put our powder in the cases. Now it drops on the upswing. That was exaggerated. You don't have to take that long. about like that. What I'm getting at is you just don't want to be too quick, because you want to make sure that the powder has time to fill your case up, the full charge to drop in there. Bigger cartridges, 30-06, the Magnum cartridges, it takes a little while, you know, a little longer than that for that powder to drop in there. So you certainly want to make sure you give it enough time, or you may be cutting your powder charge a little early, cutting it off a little early, and shorting yourself. Okay, so once I have got my powder in the cases, I always take a small flashlight and go over and just look down in and make sure that they're all good. Now I'm doing 4 here. Imagine if you have 80 and you've run 80 rounds through your powder drop. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to possibly miss one or maybe even a whole row. That's what the flashlight's for. Just go back and double check yourself, make sure that you've got indeed have the powder in the cases. That's confirmed. Now, like I said, I'm using the Hornady 68 grain boat tail hollow point. That is an excellent bullet for loading, as the boat tail will actually just set in the top of the case. So it'll set right there. It makes it very easy. Some of the flat bottom bullets, it's, you know, kind of aggravating because you actually have to hold the bullet as you run the ram up in your press. It's doable, but it makes it a little more difficult. But like I said, these are the boat tails. So they will just simply set right on top of your case like that. We've got that in there. Let's go ahead and double check our length. 2.26, I believe, is the maximum overall length that it can be with the bullet seated. We're at 2.252, so we're good to go there. We'll lay it to the side. Now, obviously, there are faster ways of doing this with progressive presses and all of that. I've never owned one. As far as reloading for pistol, I think they would be great. Me personally, I do not see how a progressive press would work very well for my method of reloading, because there's just too many steps. I'm preparing that brass. So I stay away from the progressives. If you've got one and it works great for you, that's excellent. Hey, my hat's off to you to be able to stay up on that progressive press and make sure that everything is accurate. A lot of people do it, and a lot of people have good luck with it. I've just never tried. So I stick with the single stage press. Like this rock chucker here has given me years of service. RCBS, good job on making this thing. So, okay, so we've got our bullet seated. Now our next step is going to be putting a slack crimp to make sure that that bullet doesn't move under recoil of the rifle, or if you drop a magazine or whatever. We want to make sure that those bullets stay right where we've got them. Obviously, it is a press fit when you seat the bullet. But this little bit of a crimp will indeed make sure it stays where it's supposed to be. It's just a very slack crimp. I try not to go, I do not go too heavy on my crimps. Okay, so there we have it. That's 4 rounds. Good looking 5.56 there. It's ready to fire. Yep, I'll take that all day. So yeah, that was 4 rounds, and didn't take too long to do that. But obviously, if you're gonna load 200, which is what I'm getting ready to do, it's gonna take a little longer, but it's certainly worth it. I will make a video a little later to cover reloading for accuracy. We're really going to go in depth on weighing the powder, measuring. Everything is going to be as close and consistent as I can make it as possible, and we'll really get some good accuracy out of our loads. Like I said today, what I showed you today is the basics for kind of loading for quantity. and we're going to get out there and we're going to shoot a bunch. We need to load a bunch up, right? Okay, so anyway, guys, if you got anything out of this, I hope you did. If you have any more questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll try my best to get back to you as quick as I can. A lot of the questions can be answered in manuals and your instructions for your equipment, but if you still have questions or just want to talk about reloading, hit me up in the comments and I'll get back to you. I really appreciate you guys checking out this video today. If you don't care, give me a like and a subscribe. That helps me with my channel, and I'm hoping to grow this channel so I can share some knowledge with you guys. Hey, appreciate you guys stopping by. Till next time.